Taj, welcome back, man. It is great to be here for a second episode of Uncarcerated, the podcast.
Yes, I am excited. I've been waiting because, we did the first one and I think we knocked it out the park, bro.
I think it was amazing.
Yeah, so I've been waiting to get right back here, man. So it's good to be here.
It is definitely sweet to have you over. We had some great food, and now it's time to talk about some pretty important stuff. I mean,
yes.
The meat and potatoes of the show is talking about, the point of view of formerly incarcerated people on what's going on in the world.
Absolutely, and we want to take the vision of course, Second Chance Center,
right,
and expand it in terms of allowing people to see what it is that we do and latch on.
Exactly. So let's just jump right into it.
Sure.
Today's August 21st.
Yep.
What do you think of Kamala Harris?
Oh, let's just jump right in then, Justin.
Let's do it.
Okay, so it's an interesting thing, and I think it does tie in with the whole universe of reentry.
Yeah.
Because
she's been involved in a lot of justice-related things.
Yeah, exactly. And it was, as I said, the race itself has posed a lot of discussion and arguments.
The presidential race.
Yes,
because I was going to say race is coming up a lot.
Well, a race as well. Yeah. But this one was interesting in the sense of one of the main conversations among people of color was let's not just throw all our bags in our eggs into the Biden basket.
Okay.
And so there's an interesting discussion about the criticism of the two-party system,
sure,
and how it shows up historically among people of color, and that maybe there's a different paradigm that we should explore in terms of let's not be beholden to the Democratic Party. And there's a lot of things that are swirling around with that. My opinion, Justin, was that Kamala was an added, if not different, argument because, especially in the realm of reentry, now you have voters who are looking at her as a vice presidential candidate. There is certainly, I think, some excitement because she is a woman,
right? That
she is a person of color, and not just black.
They're
multicultural, especially now. With her recent speech at the DNC and her shout out to the Chiefs, that it'll open people's mind. What the heck was she talking about? Right. And everybody's Googling and finding out about Sri Lanka and the Tamil people, and I think it's wonderful. But she also poses, again, that dilemma because she was a DA in California.
It's such an interesting dichotomy, right? Because there are people who embrace her for the identity,
right,
and then there are people who are really hesitant to embrace her because of the identity that she assumes. The role that she's played in our society.
Yeah, I really wish that she wasn't a DA because then we could embrace those ideas that she's really putting to the forefront about
the things she said in the last year don't sound like a district attorney.
Right. Exactly. So it's frustrating for me because I am suspicious of anybody with a background as a district attorney because I understand that there are things that they have to capitulate to and ideas they have to capitulate to and a system that their work actually sustains.
When you said that, I for some reason I just instantly, as I do all the time, I thought about myself, and I fixated on this idea, oh my God, I'm judging her for her past, and I was like, oh.
Yes, ironic, isn't it?
Right?
Yeah, definitely, and I, I wonder if her people would actually, because here I have to think as a strategist sometimes because I actually did that for years.
For Clinton and Obama.
Yeah, for Clinton and Obama. Right. Yes, absolutely. I would, if I were her strategist, I would know that this is the real issue and the problem that you have to address. And the best way to address it is say, hey, give me a second chance.
Right.
Because especially if you got a problem.
Literally a second chance.
Yes, literally a second chance. And coming from a person that works there, I should, if anybody reaches out to Kamala, she should pay me just for that. I'm going to patent that whole statement and then sell it to her. But
just so we're clear, I've been told in no uncertain terms before that everything I do at Second Chance becomes Second Chance property.
Yes, I've been told that. Not as strongly, because you're a maverick, dude. You've been told that to rein you in. See, I'm almost there, though. I can see.
I've just been there longer.
I can see the executive director chewing on air and ready to tell me that very thing. So I share your pain, bro.
So yeah, I mean, like I for some reason that changes my whole thinking about this, right? Like if I judge her for being a district attorney, and not just for being a district attorney, but for some of the specific actions she took in that position, like, and I judge her now for it. Like, am I like ignoring everything that I believe in about like people's ability to change?
I'm gonna say no.
Yeah.
But for one reason, specific reason. If you do something that is perceived by someone else as harmful, right?
Sure.
Because that's how we perceive her past.
Right. Well, I've done harmful things.
I got you.
Yeah.
And so have I.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't want to speak for you.
But here's the thing, though.
Right.
If you have done that, the next best thing is amends.
Right.
Acknowledging it.
That's true.
And then making amends.
That's true.
And so, that's the thing that I wouldn't just tell her, just throw out there this second chance card. You got to come with some amends.
Right.
You have to come with an acknowledgement that as a district attorney and a person of color, I can be seen pretty clearly as guilty of exacerbating a system that has targeted people of color.
Absolutely.
And now I'm running for vice president. And I'm running for one of the highest offices in the land.
Right.
And I have to acknowledge my past may have been harmful. And not just, may have been.
Can you imagine somebody saying that, like a politician saying that in this day and age, though? Like,
no, I can't. But I would love to.
Yeah, I would love to see it.
There are politicians that have broken the mold.
Yeah.
I will say one, Donald Trump, who's broken the mold and said things that has been unexpected. Of course, not.
We're talking about different molds here. Right?
Not redeemable, right? Not redeemable. I mean, but what I'm saying is that the idea is there. That a politician can show up,
be groundbreaking.
Yes, in a way that and I dare say Obama was that.
Yeah.
Was really that. In fact, I tell people all the time, as much as Trump would like to wipe away Obama's legacy, he is his student and his best student, because Obama.
This is like a Qui-Gon to Anakin.
Yeah, man. Hey, if you hang out with me, I'm gonna say some stuff that's gonna blow your mind. But I mean, and that's why we have appreciated it. We don't want to admit it, but we have appreciated what Obama did. Totally revamped our preconceived notions of politicians, and then Trump just took it to another level. Went to the dark side, but still is the same idea. So if Kamala were to, and I'm gonna tell you, Justin, she came that close with her reference, her language reference to her people and to her culture. Yeah, I would dare say that just by using that one word, she almost dismantled any chance that Trump has in the election. If she were to do that,
that's a huge statement.
Oh yeah. I feel that just because what it is, it woke up people to multiculturalism, and as I said, they were Googling shit that they ain't never Googled before, and then it created an appreciation. Her reference to a whole other language and a whole other culture that's all the way on the other side of the globe really created an appreciation for her. She could get a tsunami amount of appreciation if she were to say, you know what, I hear what you guys are saying. I hear what you're saying about my past, and here's what I'm willing to do to make amends.
I'm thinking, the other example I can think of something like this is, I remember first Obama term, maybe I'm misremembering this, but like when people would ask Obama and Biden about gay marriage, like they were pretty they waffled a little bit.
Yeah.
And then later on, like during this primary season, Biden's been like, look, my views evolved. I think was the word he used.
Yeah.
You know? And, you know, in my mind, I've always kind of just assumed that, like, he and Obama were both, like, fine with gay marriage a long time ago. But America wasn't ready to hear that.
Right. And you had to sort of toe the line a little bit. Yeah.
But I think, like, what we're talking about Kamala potentially doing is way more radical.
Yes. And there is precedent for her to do it. Her recent speech is precedent for her to be like, look, you see the uptick in her approval rating based on just that incident alone. And you see what will happen. People will not be turned off if you break the mold.
Right.
They will tend to appreciate that, and that appreciation will turn into votes.
And now I can see what you're saying about Trump, because whatever we have to say about his policy, his personality, and everything else about him, actually, he definitely there's an appeal to him because of his like uniqueness.
Yes.
Because he's groundbreaking in some kinds of ways. You know.
In many ways, he's groundbreaking. In a lot of ways, it's horrible. But there still is this subconscious appreciation because Americans have always appreciated the maverick. They've always appreciated the person that goes left when everyone goes right. Because usually that decision amounts to some groundbreaking thing that then society benefits from. So we have appreciated Donald Trump from day one. That's why people voted for him, because they were like, we're going to give this guy a shot. We may not believe everything he says, but we appreciate that he says it when everyone else is doing something different. And when Washington would, oh God, he's going against etiquette, and he was like, I don't care. I'm going to do and I'm in charge now. I can really do my own thing.
Hold on. I know you just watched Hamilton.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Me too, man.
Guilty as charged, and I loved it.
Yeah,
I wish I had seen it live, but I saw the movie, and I loved every bit of it, bro.
Me too.
Some of it, it has its criticisms. I felt like there were some themes that it could have maybe expounded upon more. But I understand Lin-Manuel's perspective and what he was really trying to do, because he, I looked at a lot of things he said when it first blew up. And so I understood that there were some things that he would not necessarily, I shouldn't rely on him for, and that's okay.
Right. I mean, it's not a history lesson.
It's not a history lesson, and it's not a soapbox speech.
Right.
So but as a play and a performance, amazing.
Super entertaining.
Yeah.
When I first started working at Second Chance Center, a gentleman gave me a copy of a book called The New Jim Crow.
Okay.
And loved the book. I wouldn't say that my experience of reading the book was one of love. It was more of like desperation and sadness. But, but I was really glad to have read it. And he continues to talk to me to this day, and to anybody who listens, about truth and reconciliation.
Yes.
And points to things that have happened in South Africa and stuff.
Yes.
And because my follow-up question to this thing about Kamala Harris was going to be, and shout out to myself, by the way, because I just realized that I called Obama, Biden, Trump, but I'm calling Harris by her first name because of some deep-seated institutional sexism or something.
It's all good.
So I'm sorry about that. But I was going to ask, what's the impact of, somebody who's been in a law enforcement position saying something like, hey, I served a system that is fundamentally broken, and I did things to people, or I was involved in things that were done to people that are harmful, right? What happens next when somebody says that?
Bro.
Or do we know? Because it doesn't happen.
One, because it hasn't happened.
Right.
But I do know, maybe from a different perspective, where as a person who has been a criminal and has said, I have to make amends for my actions, or not even from a personal standpoint, but also having been around people who have done that and then moved in the direction. It's been amazing. Right. So I think that if she were to offer that sort of conversation and realization, it would have one of the most far-reaching, impactful things in our society as a whole, because, as I said, much of what's is more of a political argument, but underneath it is this desire to have reform and justice, and we are struggling for it. And I think the struggle and the frustration is that we're struggling for it from people who are not willing to give it, whether because they don't understand they should, or whatever the reason is. You're trying to. It's also, with domestic violence, there's this idea that if you cause harm, the way that healing comes from is restitution. And there, of course, there's the dilemma of, what if the person doesn't offer restitution? How do you get that? Do you not get the healing? So I really think that, and we've seen it. You mentioned South Africa. Yeah. You mentioned there's Rwanda that had a truth and reconciliation movement that was so profound.
Right.
And so there's precedence for it. And I just think it's a matter of, like I said, if I were a strategist and I were in Kamala's ear, I'd be like, hey, man, this is the chance.
Right.
Because, and I would be operating as a strategist for her, where I would throw Biden under the bus, because I'd be like, look, this is not just a chance to have an impact in society and culture and politics. This is a chance for you to really move your star status ahead of Biden's. Because Biden is not able to do that. He's not in this position. We're not talking about him like we talk about Kamala. The frame of the argument is different.
He's not as interesting for a couple reasons.
No.
And America has known about Joe Biden for a long time.
A long time. Yeah. Look, I'm going to say it here first, Justin. Biden's going to be a one-term president. He will win the election, and it will be a landslide. There's historical precedents going back to Woodrow Wilson, where it's when people kind of got tired of him, and as a mandate, they reelected the next Harding.
Yeah, Warren Harding,
who won in a landslide, and he was a nobody. Yeah. He came out of nowhere, and it was and he ran against Roosevelt. Roosevelt wasn't as well known as, of course, Theodore. So he was a new Franklin, but he ran against a formidable opponent, and really Warren G. Harding was nobody. Right. He really was a nobody. And so, but his re-election was one of the biggest landslides in presidential electoral history, and there was a mandate back to Woodrow Wilson and his racist policies, and also his he's very narcissistic, kind of like Trump, and was so sick that he shouldn't even run for re-election, and he was like, no, I'm gonna go run, and so I think people got fed up with him. I think that's what's going to happen in this election. So I think that Biden will certainly win, but he's going to be a one-term candidate. He will do nothing that is going to be remarkable. He is not very remarkable, except he's Obama's homie. That's as remarkable as he is, and maybe he's talked to some kids.
I mean, if I was Obama's homie, that would be the most remarkable thing about me.
Okay. You said that. I didn't. But
I'm saying it's a pretty remarkable thing.
Yeah. But here's the problem, though, with you. If you were Obama's homie, that may be the most remarkable thing about you, but you won't have this long history of just mundane nothingness either, like Biden did.
No, I gotta stay moving.
Yeah, especially, because people criticize Biden. Biden
sounds like the guy who owns a pub.
Yeah, for the things he did in the past, because we got to go back just to even see what he did. Because I'm not interested in him at all. Yeah. So I think that he will be a one-term president, which opens the door for Kamala's star power to be increased, if at all. Yeah. But I think if she did this, she would be a shoo-in.
Do you think there are enough Americans, like, because I sometimes think of, like, 21st century America, 2020 America, and the mask mandate and all these sorts of things as this real interesting clash between, like, what I see as, like, traditional America, which has this, like, I can do it myself, don't tell me what to do, like, I'm strong, don't show weakness kind of thing, with, like, frankly, like, Gen X and their children, who, like, seem to be doing things a little bit differently, a little more emotional, a little more thoughtful. Yeah. And I know I'm generalizing incredibly here, but, like, where it's like, hey, wow, I'm impressed with what like, let's say Harris says this. They're like, they might be, yeah, I'm impressed with this, and I believe that this is a noteworthy, thing that's happening, versus this like traditional American idea of like, why are you telling us that you screwed up? Like I think of like Trump when like we don't apologize. George W. Bush made similar statements. Right.
So there is a marked difference. I think you're right in perceiving in that. I think that we are, and we could go back maybe over the past decade to see where some of that is coming from. The idea of social good as an actual business model is a great indicator.
That's a good example
of not doing business as usual.
Right.
And now you have this whole different model that says, if you give back to the communities, if you give to the environment, we're promoting the idea of doing good business as good business.
Right.
So those little things are becoming more relevant to us in this generation.
Yeah.
And so I agree, there is more thoughtfulness. There is this, we have, this generation has benefited from a global connection that is unprecedented.
That is true.
Right?
And there's like research has shown time and time again that like the best way to combat like bigotry and like self-centeredness stuff is simply exposure to diversity.
Yes.
And like certainly no generation on earth has had as much exposure to everything as young people today.
Yes. Absolutely. And as that increases, I hope because in terms of not just in cyberspace,
right,
but that it increases face to face.
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, there is a huge difference, obviously.
Yeah. So I was happy to see prices drop for airline tickets because it meant that people would jump on the plane and go somewhere as opposed to getting on FaceTime.
Yeah.
Right. So I hope that trend continues. That as borders open and prices drop, and it's easier to travel from one place to another, then that also creates that exposure that you're talking about.
I think it'd be great. I mean, it's like flavor, right? Like, you don't know you don't like pineapple until you try it.
Until you try it, yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I guess pineapple's not so bad.
Yeah, and I wish I would have ate it earlier.
Right, then you eat some more, and you're like, oh, I fucking love pineapple.
Yeah, and then you're like, I'm going to Hawaii now, because I know that's, and then you learn their culture, and then you like, and
it turns out it's not so much different than all the fruit you already like.
Right, exactly. So I think that this Generation X, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like people born like 70 and later.
Yeah, I think I'm more Generation X, if anything. But this latest generation, I think, benefits from a greater exposure to other people, which creates mindfulness of
more
other
empathy,
people.
Like more appreciation.
Yeah, absolutely.
All that kind of stuff. Like I remember being like when I was, and this is something that's just happened in my life. I'm like, there was in the town I was born in, there was no like diversity of food options. Were like Pizza Hut versus the burger places.
Right.
And now it's like that same town has the same number of people living in it. There's a Chinese restaurant. There's a Korean
no Chinese
restaurant.
People, but
exactly.
Yeah. No.
I mean, it's just in that small little like segment of like exposure to different things and ideas. You see like the world's changing.
Yeah. I often try to be. I end up being more optimistic. Than anything else. I still have my cynicism, but that's just suspicion to be more than anything. I
could just be your experience too.
That too, but I still come out of it with this ridiculous amount of optimism.
Right.
So I think I have the feeling that we're moving in the right directions.
I mean, again, I'm speaking very broadly here, but I think in general, if you look at the course of human history, like things, like it's called progressive because things progress.
Right. Right. Duh.
Things change, and overall, I think we're usually better than we were the year before.
Yeah.
But not always.
Yeah. Coming back to Kamala, it does the other sort of consequence of her.
Yeah.
Is that it's bringing re-entry more to the forefront.
That's true.
More people, because she is linked to the new Jim Crow.
Right.
And more people, it was one of 13 was one of the best movies in the past couple of years.
If you have Netflix.
Yes, get Netflix
Check
and watch 13.
It's amazing.
And well, first of all, if you haven't gotten if you haven't read New Jim Crow, you got to do that as well.
Also great, yeah, and free, unlike Netflix.
Yes.
Well, I mean, at a library. I think they still are open.
I think so. Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Let's go do some homework next show. I like that more so than anything outside of maybe Obama's efforts to shore up the federal sentencing and even Trump's involvement in his latest prison reform legislation. It brings reentry to the forefront because now
it does.
We are talking about again this thing that is a lot more universal than we thought.
I want to dive into this, but I have to say something I just thought of. I was talking to Kelly. We work with Kelly.
Right.
Great
man Kelly Booker, shout out.
Great care manager at Second Chance Center. Actually been doing reentry work longer than either of us back at Turnabout.
Yeah, Turnabout. Yeah, way back in the day.
We were talking about when Trump's recent pardon for Roger Stone, right?
Yes.
And he's like, look, he's a first-time offender and he's nonviolent. I'm like, okay. Like, I'll roll with this logic if you apply it to everyone else on the country.
Yeah, because now you're going to be given a whole lot of damn pardons.
Right. And I'm sorry to get sidetracked like that, but like I had to say something about that.
Yeah, it just showed, one, even though Trump could rest on his laurels a little bit for some actual prison reform legislation being passed, which he can, but it also showed it was in the wrong hands. And so again, I come back to Kamala.
Right.
If in anybody's hands this argument can really be impactful, it's hers. Yeah. She just has to realize that, as opposed to just let me go beat Trump. There's some things that she can really deal with that are bigger than her.
She knows the system.
Well, yes, absolutely. And so when you hear DAs that will tell you the truth, this system is fucked up.
Yeah.
And I was a cog in the machine that I saw lock up a whole lot of dark-skinned people and turn out money.
Yeah.
Then, I think that's worthy of sort of supporting, and also, those things are empowering because now you're like, man, I got an inside man.
Right.
That's true. Who understands not only because they were there, but you can hear the need for reform, and it's not just coming from one side. Now it's more impactful. Now it's more valid,
Yeah.
And it would be, like I said, it would be great to hear that from her. But I would hope that she does do something. That she does say something and make some moves in that direction. I
would love to hear more people in positions of authority just say, like, I have misused my authority. Yeah. That's an honesty that is inconvenient. Yeah. And it's an honesty that is uncomfortable as well. But it's something like on a micro scale, like I think we're all used to. Not saying like I misused my authority, but like every time like a parent yells at their kid and then like later on it's like, I was going through a lot. Right. Or even if you don't understand it for 20 years, right, we have that conversation, Yeah. Like I think that as individuals in this country, we understand that like people don't always make the best decisions. Yeah. Right. Even if at the time they thought they were. Yeah. Because the benefit of hindsight is, of course, that you have more experience now. Right. And so I think on a micro scale we're ready for this. I just don't know. I mean, I guess really the question is 50% of the electorate ready to hear that? 51% of the electorate. Well, that's a good question. Yeah. Maybe because as much as they are on one side, we all still share some of the same experiences. We still witness incarceration. Some of our family members are being incarcerated, whether you're Republican or not. Oh yeah. Yeah. And we that's still impacting families, and then the further generations. So I still think that when someone tells the truth or they break a paradigm, it's going to be appreciated across the board. Trump got people to vote for him that traditionally voted Democrat, and some were people of color, and there were a lot of women that voted for him. So his stance, as a human stance, can be impactful to whoever, to be quite honest. And I think Kamala
can certainly benefit from that with the position if she takes such a position.
No, that makes I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
We got what 70 days, 75 days.
Yeah.
I'm doing that thing I did 4 years ago where I am spam refreshing news sites.
Yeah.
538.com.
Yes.
All that stuff.
Yes.
I'm following Nate Silver on Twitter again.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, let's see what you're going to say now, buddy.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and that interest is something that's happening across the board. I've never seen so much interest in politics from people who traditionally did not get involved at all.
Do you think maybe, I mean, this is simplifying it, but like maybe it has something to do with the fact that a lot of people have been stuck at home for 6 months?
Yes. I cannot tell a lie. But I think also with a lot of the things that have happened across the board within the realm of prison and crime and punishment and criminal justice and social justice, it's really created this idea for people who have been traditionally marginalized or felt marginalized that you can be involved.
No, that's true.
There are people running for local offices, 20 years old. 20-year-old kids who were running around on the street now putting on, suit and ties because they got like, man, I got to go debate this guy that I'm running against. Or they're on, we saw it in Ferguson. We saw
that's true. That's a great example.
Protesters in Ferguson now on the city council.
Right. That's a great example.
Mike Brown's mom is running for office.
I was just thinking that I'm quite a bit older than Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah, but you guys are kind of in the same...
We're probably from the same cloth.
Yeah, there's not... You might have met her. She might have served you drinks at more.
I was in New York.
You might have been in the same bars. Yeah, I mean, it's not... You're not cut from that different of a cloth.
Yeah.
And so then imagine... I mean, I don't know what her aspirations were when she was a bartender.
Right.
But I wonder... I don't think that they were a congresswoman.
Probably
maybe
not.
Though. Who knows?
Yeah,
Who knows?
Right.
But even the fact that if she did have that aspiration then, it meant that at some point she was convinced that she could do it.
No, it's true.
And
you know what? Like that reminds me of like kind of like maybe my closing thought on this kind of topic, right? Like I think with Obama, like obviously like the word hope got thrown around a lot. Like it wasn't his speeches a lot. There was the hope poster.
Right.
He talked about the audacity of hope when he was at the DNC 16 years ago. Right. But like, I think that if Harris were to make these sorts of statements, we could, and given what's been going on in this country and the sort of equalizing effect, although not really equal, that the coronavirus has had on people, ultimately not equal at all, actually.
Right.
But like, we're all kind of going through this together.
Yeah.
Like maybe the buzzword this year could be like empathy, right? Like. I've sat with you and I've suffered with you and I get it a little bit more than I did before. And what I don't understand, I still recognize is important to you.
Right. I will add to your closing thought with my own and say I like the word connectivity.
No, yeah.
Because in order to create the empathy and understanding, you have to connect. We have an interesting verse. I often refer to it in the Holy Quran, in the Islamic faith. There's a verse that says God created, where he says, I created all of these differences, and then I separated people into tribes and nations, and I did it for one thing, so that you know each other. And I found that very profound, because we've done everything but, and this is God laying out his purpose. This is what I did it for. And for those who believe in it, it's like, then this is what you did it for, then I don't have any other say. Yeah. If you did it for us, these differences of skin color and language and locale, for me to know the people that are different from me, then I have to move into that realm. And that means connecting.
I mean, I have no idea why any of this happened, the world, in life in general. But I do know that I like it a lot more being part of a community and being connected to my brothers and sisters. Yes. And I feel more useful too.
Yes. I can tell you as a new father, that has also become very important to me because I have this new son
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends that are fathers, and a few of them new fathers.
Yeah.
And there's always this sense of community. Like, I can't raise my kid alone.
Right.
Right? I need your help as well. And so will he.
And that's sort of the second chance center message. Well, I mean, that's the secret sauce we alluded to last week,
Yes.
right? Like, the idea that, like, you know, you can get out of prison and find yourself completely alone. And be handed boots and tools and a job, but like you're probably not going to succeed because what's missing, you know, is the connection, the sense of belonging, like being a part of a community that gives a shit about you. Yes. Especially when like you felt, definitely while you're inside, that you probably didn't feel like that.
Right.
And certainly more than likely not like that before as well.
Right.
And it's about those connections.
Yes.
I mean, that is what makes the difference between somebody who provides you a service and somebody who wraps their arms around you.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. It's been our secret sauce. It is the thing that makes us... I don't even like to use the word successful anymore because reality is we are successful. But we are so...
effective, maybe?
Effective, and what we do is so fulfilling to each and every one of us. There isn't a man within, or woman within our family, within our organization, that does not see the fulfillment aspect of what we do.
Right.
And it's because we create those connections. We all understand that a person cannot remain free with a background of incarceration unless they connect into an idea and a group that is moving in that same direction of perpetual freedom. Yeah. It won't happen. And we have understood that and been able to sort of apply it and reapply it. And that's what's made us successful.
I agree. It's too limited a word for what we are and what we do. But I agree. I agree completely with what you're saying.
Word.
So this was pretty cool.
Yes, we've come to the end of another wonderful show.
Yes.
Which means that I think if I can speak for you, Justin, we both look forward to being right back here again for the next installment.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we'll see you guys next week. If you're interested in what Second Chance Center does, you can always reach out to us on Facebook. Just search Second Chance Center. You can find us at scccolorado.org, and you can call us at 303-537-5838. That'll get you to the front desk at Second Chance Center.
Absolutely. Tap in with us. Connect with us. We'd love to hear from you. Any ideas you have, let us know. Give us feedback. We appreciate it, and we will always take it into account.
Have a good one.
Peace.